I'm looking just now at the latest drop from Pope Leo, the first encyclical he's released, which is called the Magnifica Humanitas, Magnificent Humanity, but it's all about AI, and it was presented, while he was sitting next to Chris Olah, who's a higher up at Anthropic, right? So this, obviously, this is an indication of the times. Like AI is on the tip of everyone's tongue. Not everyone yet realizes how important AI is going to be as we get to AGI and superintelligence. But I mean, everyone is recognizing AI is a super big deal, right? And there's also a political slant to it. I mean, Trump has been pushing sort of against too much regulation of AI, and on this point, unlike some others, Trump and I are basically on the same conceptual side. The Pope is coming out more in favor of regulating AI for the common good. Although I mean, this is an encyclical; it's not a policy brief, but there is this political overtone of who wants to regulate, who doesn't want to regulate. The Pope seems like he wants someone to regulate, right? But I think the most interesting thing here isn't the regulation versus deregulation vibe, or even this sort of a odd couple thing of Anthropic and the Catholic Church, right? I mean, the most interesting thing is sort of what's left out, like what's missing, because I mean the church, while it's a complex thing with a complex history, I mean the church is about the depths of the human mind, heart, and spirit, right? And in a way, the quest for AGI and superintelligence is also at the depths of the human mind, heart, and spirit. And I think the deeper aspects of the quest to create super AI and what this can mean for the human soul, like this seems like it's not touched in what the Pope has said. So I mean, I want to go into that a little bit, and there's an interesting contrast between what the Pope has said here and some previous Catholics like Teilhard de Chardin, whose notion of the omega point is one of the archetypes that shaped our current version of the singularity, right? I mean, I'm not Christian. I was raised secular Jewish, never celebrated Christmas. Like the Pope was never particularly a thing for me, but Teilhard's writing, while a little too Catholic for my taste, were interesting and did show me how you could put together a sort of Christian theology and spirituality with an understanding of the spiritual depths of advanced technology, right? And so Teilhard was a Catholic who went there. Pope Leo has not gone there, but yeah, let me start with reacting directly to what Pope Leo actually said before I get to what he didn't say, right? So what he said is AI is, quote, an instrument of domination, exclusion, and death, unquote, right? So he doesn't want it to be used to kill people willy-nilly, right? And he's against AIs making irreversible, lethal decisions. I mean, which is a position Anthropic has taken and is very understandable. I mean, I don't think you necessarily can say that's a red line that can never be crossed. I mean, you could imagine a sufficiently horrible situation in which tremendous, human death was going to occur unless we let AIs make tactical decisions about how to battle that, including letting the AI make tactical decisions about killing people in the moment, right? Like you could imagine cases where letting AIs make their own lethal decisions would be the right thing to do. These are going to be weird, extreme cases. I hope they never happen, right? And I mean, I agree with Anthropic and the Pope that, this isn't what we should be focusing on. And as a rule, in almost all cases, yes, we don't want to be building AIs whose job is to decide who to kill and then kill them, right? And I mean, the Pope also is against the concentration of power in a few large companies, which is a song I've been singing for quite a while, right? Like we don't want, 3 to 5 big Western companies and a few connected together large Chinese companies controlling the supermind that's 100 times as intelligent as everything else on the planet, and in effect has control of the world, right? So, in all these points, I'll give credit where credit is due. I mean, Pope Leo is saying like good, solid, ethical things, but I think he's just not going deep enough. Like he's sort of, you could say, seeing AI as a second industrial revolution or something, right? And he's wants to put the same protections against the second industrial revolution that in hindsight we think should have been there at the time of the first industrial revolution, like defend the dignity of work and workers, restrain capital from going nuts and being destructive in pursuit of greed, protect vulnerable people, don't allow the human soul to be reduced to a means rather than an end. Like that's all good, solid stuff, but it's all within a very limited perspective. And I mean, this limited perspective may be tied to, the rooting of Catholicism in the Bible, right? Like the Bible, like most traditional religions, it's about humanity in its traditional form. I mean, its ancient form from thousands of years ago. It's about humanity, like the historical, embodied, and souled human being the moral anchor and the foundation of everything. And if you assume that, then of course AI is just a tool. It's necessarily a tool. It's not a true agent. It's not a true participant or collaborator in shaping the future, right? And of course, that's how you're going to think about things if you're taking the perspective of like 2,000 years ago in the desert in the Middle East. You had people, you had non-human animals, you had wild spiritual experiences, and you had tools. I mean, big tools like used to build the Egyptian pyramids, smaller tools wielded by humans or pulled by farm animals, right? I mean, that's a traditional perspective. It sort of worked through the Industrial Revolution, but it's going to give you a defensive posture of humans against their tools getting out of line, right? And I think this 2,000-year-old posture cannot accommodate, the thing that's actually happening on the planet right now. Because what we're entering into, and which the Holy Bible doesn't give us a way to understand, right? What we're entering into is a phase transition of mind itself, right? Like consciousness itself is evolving. The relation between mind and body are evolving. And historical humanity really needs to be viewed as like one beautiful stage along a series of many different transitions. Like viewing humanity as the beginning and end, which is what the Bible pretty much does, right? I mean, this is not the right mindset to bring to thinking about the emergence of AGI and the singularity. Like the Bible, like all the other traditional holy books, is not a cosmist document, right? I mean, it's a different sort of thing. So what's interesting, though, as I alluded to, is there have been more cosmist perspectives even within the scope of Catholicism, but they were viewed with some skepticism by the Catholic Orthodoxy, right? And this is Teilhard de Chardin is one example. Like, he was a French Jesuit priest. Lots of stuff on him online. He lived from 1881 to the mid 1950s, right? He was super interesting guy. He was a serious paleontologist. He discovered what was called Peking man, right? Like, he was doing real field work in geology and human evolution. And his goal intellectually was like, let's integrate Darwinian evolution with Catholic theology by extending evolution upward into the evolution of consciousness, right? So he thought matter complexified toward mind, and then mind would complexify toward a sort of emergent supermind, which he called the omega point, right? And he, being a good Christian, he identified the omega point with Jesus, right? Like, we're becoming one with Jesus, becoming one with God. So he was looking at like the communication infrastructure, culture, everything happening on the planet Earth as human culture advanced, as connecting people and machines and nature more and more tightly together until it became so tightly cross-connected it hit a phase transition, which was the omega point, right? Omega being the last letter of the Greek alphabet. And I mean, this is part of what led me to name our recent claw agent the Omega Claw, right? And that we're thinking of launching an Omega Shard on the ASI chain. So of course, the end would also be a beginning once everything is converged together into this like white hot synergetic emergent mega mind. I mean, then that doesn't mean things are static. You may have later stages of growth and evolution, but it's sort of the culmination of the current phase anyway. So this led to the term noosphere, which was Teilhard's coinage. It was sort of the planetary layer of thought emerging out of the biosphere, a collective mind enveloping the Earth. And I was at a noosphere conference last year in San Francisco. Like, this memetics and intellectual network is still growing. He was like a Catholic cosmist, like 75, 100 years early. Now, what happened? So he wasn't quite formally excommunicated or kicked out of the church, but his superiors in the Catholic Church wouldn't allow him to publish his thoughts during his lifetime. He was censored. His major book, The Phenomenon of Man, came out only right after he died. They gave him a formal warning against his serious errors of thought, and this formal warning has never been lifted by the bureaucracy of Catholic Church, although some popes and others have said some favorable things about him, right? He was kind of quasi-excommunicated, but if you look at it, he was the one major Catholic figure. He tried to develop like a genuinely evolutionary, consciousness-centered, future-oriented cosmotheology, right? Like, he was a Catholic singularitarian. So it's interesting, you have this Magnifica Humanitas thing, and it doesn't try to take Teilhard to the next level, right? It just pushes that aside. I mean, you could say Catholicism foresaw the singularity in the early part of the last century, but instead, I mean, condemnation of Teilhard is still there on the register, and we're taking a much, much less adventurous perspective here, right? And there's even some weird synergy between this point, the denial or the ignoring of Teilhard's Catholic cosmotheology, and the perspective on regulation, right? Because why do I think deregulating or not over-regulating AI is important? It's because I think our current government systems are not fast-moving or clever enough to regulate AI in a way that will guide its self-organizing emergent activity in a good way instead of in a destructive way, right? I mean, it's not that no guidance or regulation of AI development by the collective understanding of humanity could be good. It's not like a global, rational, beneficial world government couldn't guide AI in a positive way through the right set of regulations. But what we have is a sort of self-organizing global brain that's bringing itself into existence, all of our efforts being a part of that. And the question is, will ham-handed, slow-moving, misguided attempts at government regulation sort of twist and distort this self-organizing process in a bad way more so than in a good way? And I would say probably so, right? Like in practice, regulations tend to get written by whoever has the most lobbying power, right? So that would be the CCP, has all the power in China. It'd be Google, OpenAI, Anthropic, the defense industry, the Catholic Church, right? It'll be powerful parties shaping the regulations. And none of these powerful parties are cosmists. None of these are transhumanists. So whatever rules are written are going to be written in a very narrow, bureaucratic / capitalist grammar, right? So, I mean, it's not that I think Donald Trump, by opposing regulation, is expressing a deep cosmist transhumanist vision. I mean, maybe he has one. He hasn't expressed it publicly in what I've seen so far, but I mean, at least not over-regulating in a destructive way leaves space for self-organization to happen, which includes space for visionary transhumanism to make its play, right? Like the singularity isn't coming from the Vatican, the singularity isn't coming from Mar-a-Lago or Washington, D.C. Like the singularity is coming from the whole noosphere organizing itself, and in a way that Teilhard sort of had an inkling of, and Pope Leo evidently is not oriented to even start to imagine, right? So the thing is, I mean, the singularity is not just a technology event. It's not just the second technological revolution. It is an experiential and consciousness event, individual and global. It's a phase shift in what minds are and what minds do. So you can't, or rather you shouldn't, you can't usefully approach it from a perspective of like, how do we protect the human person as articulated in the Bible 2,000 years ago? How do you protect the human person from AI? The thing is, how do you cultivate the rapidly evolving human AI nexus? How do you cultivate the human AI nexus toward positive values, right? How do you cultivate the human AI nexus toward joy, growth, choice, continuity, shared awareness, and so forth? We truly need a cosmocentric, not like 2,000-year-old anthropocentric perspective. And I mean that's it's just like when you're raising a child. The best way to have the best of your own values persistent in the child is to pay attention to the child themselves and their own growth and their own point of view and their own value origination process, right? And by allowing their own values to grow with some freedom and not trying to batter them into submission, you'll do a better job of getting your own values into them through a kind of resonance with them than you will by trying to bash them into doing things exactly your way, right? Like trying to constrain the singularity to follow, the 2026 dictates of a 2,000-year-old book. This is not going to actually work. What will work is to let the singularity be what it needs to be, but keep attuned to it, evolve along with it, and resonate with it, so that some of our values do permeate to it as it grows in the way that's natural to it, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of sensible things in what the Pope has said. I mean, and in what the Anthropic guy said, right? Like what the Anthropic guy said at the Vatican was, we need moral voices that the incentives cannot bend, right? I mean, that's in line with the Pope's critique of capital. I mean, it makes sense, but the thing is, if moral voices are not bent by short-term incentives, what are they actually bent by? We don't really need moral voices that can't be bent by capitalist incentives, because they're guided by, what was written down 2,000 years ago in the Middle Eastern desert in a narrow way, right? I mean, we can't have a vision that tops out at human flourishing in its dignity. We do want human flourishing in its dignity, but that's too limited a perspective when we're on the verge of creating all sorts of new kinds of minds, as Teilhard envisioned, right? So the conversation Teilhard was trying to start 100 years ago was about cosmic and conscious evolution as a single process, all, human sphere, technosphere, converging together into a common noosphere. And we see this happening, ding, 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 month by month, week by week, day by day, right? Like, that's the conversation the AI moment is forcing on us, which is not a conversation that either the Pope or Anthropic seems to now be entering into in a really intensive, full-on way, right? And so that's anyway, that's how I see it. I mean, Pope Leo is all right. Anthropic is cool. I love Claude Code and Claude Cowork. Neither of them, they're all compassionate people trying to do their best from their own positions, but we need a much wider understanding to really make sense of or direct what's going on now, which leads me to follow up with a pitch for the book Gabriel Axel Montes and I wrote a couple of years ago called The Consciousness Explosion. Check out The Consciousness Explosion .ai, and you can get a free PDF download of the book. You can also buy it on Amazon or other online booksellers. And that doesn't focus on Teilhard, although he's there in the background, but it focuses on, what's happening on the planet now as encompassing traditional notions of human flourishing, but also going beyond them and redefining what both human and flourishing mean, which is really what I think we need to be doing now to grasp the most of the amazing opportunities that AI technology is giving us.